StarCHaser Central, a podcast about Charles Hamilton music moments and everything in between. I'm Stick Braxton.
And I'm Mike D. Jackson.
What's up, man? How you doing? How you doing today in this Halloween month?
I thought there was going to be more to that, but
I did too, honestly. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was trying to play it off like I actually meant that. I did not. I don't know what the fuck just happened.
um, for October, so far so good. Everything's all right. Happy October, happy Halloween to everyone. I know we're not Halloween yet, but there's people that just love spooky season. I'm not. I don't hate it. I just don't get the big deal. You know what I mean? That's just me. But how are you feeling though?
Delirious, apparently. I'm okay. Yeah, happy October. The year is moving by fast, I'll say that much. It's crazy to think we're in October again. Um, but other than that, I'm okay.
Do you Do you have any plans for dressing up with the family when October does come? Do like a little family, like, hey, we're all the Power Rangers or some shit like that? Like,
No.
no, not even a little something.
Nah. Nah,
Okay.
I'm not that guy. I don't even like I'm like you. I mean, we'll talk about it the week of Halloween, I guess. But like I'm not that big into dressing up.
Okay. I
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah. As long as the kids have fun, I guess that's all I care about. Plus, if we want to keep it a buck, a lot of people have been dressing up all year. So I'm not gonna just join in for one day.
Like fucking clowns. Whole
Yes.
365. I will say, shout out to y'all because you are very dedicated. Haven't changed the outfit, not even for one day. So I'm like, that's impressive.
Yes, not it's almost like if you're not who you say you are. Um, but today we are going to I don't know how I'm gonna tie this in, but you know what is very common with Halloween?
What's that?
Black cats.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that is something that's on there, like with pumpkins and other things. So what does Black Cats have to do with Halloween in this episode though?
I'm glad you asked. That's because today we are reviewing the Charles Hamilton take Mr. Black Cat.
Oh, that was the laziest segue we've ever done.
Pretty bad, not gonna lie.
But it worked. It segued into it. You know, it segued like that. That was definitely like elementary. Like either way. Anyway, y'all, we are reviewing Mr. Black Cat. Um, Shocker, and this is for you know, first time ever. This was not requested by me or Stick or a Star Chaser. This was actually requested by Charles Hamilton himself. Charles called me a while ago. He said, "You know what? I want to request something. Can I do a request?" I'm like, "Yeah, go ahead." He's like, "Yeah, let me do I want you guys to review Mr. Black Cat." I'm like, "Got it, done." And then I told him just last week, I'm like, "Hey, we're listening to it right now to review it." He was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." I'm like, "What?" He's like, man, I'm nervous." I'm like, "Nervous for what? You requested this." He was like, well, I figured, y'all be like pump faking or something like that a little bit. I'm like, "Charles, we don't do that." You know what I mean? Like if you actually ask for a tape, we're going to do it. You know what I mean? So that's what we're doing today. I do have a little question because this tape was uploaded by StarChaser, I believe Def 18, shout out to him. He uploaded it last year, March of 2023.
Mhm.
But I was thinking, I'm like, did this actually come out last year? I went on the CH app. When you look at the files, it says, and I know it's wrong, but it says created in 2020 but modified in 2018. I'm assuming it might be flipped. So
Mhm.
it's come out in 2018, 2020, 2023. I don't know. Charles, feel free to let us know. And also I don't have much information on it because it's a newer tape.
Mhm.
I did ask Charles, like, hey, since we are going to be reviewing this, anything you want to kind of let us know about it?
Mhm.
And I didn't get too much information either on that, but I understand because if Charles tells me now, he can't drop the comments in the video section later. So I'll let him do that later as well. So I'm sorry this part of my section is a little short, but that's all I got.
Well, to be fair, that is what comes with newer tapes. Usually, we talked about how a lot of newer tapes don't have the backstory. We don't have the historical facts as much as we normally would. Um, so what we're looking at is probably we're willing to bet this is the most recent tape that we're going to review that's come out. I think it's safe to say that for sure. Um, but yeah, if it came from Charles, man, who are we not to review it? You know what I'm saying? Once you told me that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's get to it. I'm a little confused at what pump fake meant though. I feel like we've never pump faked anything.
No, we haven't. And I'll say this, he might not have said those words. I said it to him. I'm like, did you think we were going to pump fake you? I'm like, nah, we don't. I said, and to make sure there's clarity for everyone, because of course a lot of you guys have said, hey, check out this tape, check out that tape, or whatever. We are going to check out every tape in due time. If you're someone that has made like 7 requests, you might have to slow down a little bit. Let us get through your first like 2 to 3 reviews before you review something else. You know what I mean? But we still want everyone to ask for requests and reviews. You know what I mean? So, but we're going to review anything anyone says. You know what I mean? Just we gotta get to the time. We just gotta get to it. It's 2 guys, one podcast. Pause if I have to say that. Like
Yo,
we only have
yeah.
so much time. Listen, Mr. Illuminati. I don't want to hear anything from you.
I'm not. First of all, let's not use that word in our broadcast in case. Number one, number two. I'm not part of the Illuminati, bro.
All right.
Talk
Okay.
about this. You might be a part of the Illuminati because of all your Celsius drinking.
I just seen a picture of LA Knight with his wife, and he's holding a can of Celsius, but he like was having it covered up a little bit. So I think he's the real person that you need to talk to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bro's not getting paid, so you're not getting no free promo from me. Yeah. Um. So just to be clear, you didn't hear any of this before, or did you happen to listen to this at all?
Never. This is my first time even hearing of the tape. Like never heard of it before until Charles said, "Hey, how about this tape?"
Mhm.
Never heard it before. Never. I don't even think I've heard a StarCHaser even talk to me about it. Like even in the Discord, we have people that say, "Oh, you guys ever check out this, check out that," and then drop certain songs from it. Unless I just missed someone talking about it, but never heard it. First time ever. How about you?
I'm in the exact same boat, man. Again, it's very rare that we run into this type of review where neither one of us really have heard it, and we're kind of both going in very blind. Um, so yeah, once you sent it, I'll just be transparent on how I looked at things, right? So for me, I asked you what what were the title names of the songs. Why? Because it kind of can put me at ease as to what I'm running into. Like it kind you know how Charles names stuff. Some things it's like, I don't know if this one's gonna hit just based off the title. But when I read the titles, I was like, okay, this seems pretty straightforward. Nothing too out of there, nothing that's gonna be, you know, hard to digest. So I was going in with a very, I, I was going in with a positive outlook, but I was going in with a little bit more less concern, I'll say.
Okay, I get you. I definitely remember that. And then, when we talked about it, you read them all down. You're like, yeah, we should be straight with this. Sounds good to me, without even hearing it, and that's it's kind of 90-ish, if you say, because think about if you ever went to Blockbuster, video scene, whatever type of rental place, if you looked at the front of the cover or something, the back of it, that's all you can go by. Before you get to play it, there's no review, there's no, oh, I just gotta look at this. Hey man, look kind of nice. Let's check it out. So that's what I took from it.
I'm telling you, we're like one of the best duos out there because you don't even know that you stumbled upon something I'm gonna say later, and it's crazy how you do that. We're here at this point, 50 episodes in. We're doing great, man. We'll get back to that.
All right.
It starts off with Paranormal Activity.
Where to like a hail of cab. The rain and the snow and the hail is back, but it's the sun. Take away the snow. They don't know what I go through when I come from the tongue. Speaking it, New Testament, the reason of beginning. But that's old. Back to the new. What I have to do is rap to you with the magic I choose.
So I first heard the beat come in, and I'm like, sounds familiar, kind of.
Mhm.
So I had a couple of notes for this because I said the song has like a lighthearted air to it. Reminds me of cartoons on Saturday morning. Like it has some type of like cartoonish sound. And I think the reason why, because maybe that part where it's like the xylophone was like do 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 do, and then it's like that part. So I'm like, okay, So beat's nice. Um, Personal peeve, I guess you could say. I like the chops. I like the chops on the beat. I'm not a fan of the I guess the static in the background. I'm not sure if that's something
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's something where it's like that was part of the original sound. And of course, like you can always add in sounds. Sometimes it's harder to take out sounds, so you just gotta, deal with it. Um, but that's just a personal thing. The flow's cool. On the hook, he's like, I don't need a reason to keep on believing. So, and he mentions that a lot in the hook and sometimes in the verses, similar things.
Mhm.
I'm not I'm not sure what the song's about. Song's called Paranormal Activity. Um, and also in the verses, like second and third verse, he mentions kind of being upset about being alive. But later on, like in the third verse, he's like, oh yeah, but I'm about to smash a chick later and all that. So in my head, I'm like, the song's called Paranormal Activity. The beat doesn't sound like paranormal at all, you
Mhm.
know? Um, so like when I hear the beat, I hear the song, and it's like it's up. I won't say uplifting, but it's like lighthearted. It has like a nice positive air to it. Some of the lyrics are a little darker, but not too dark. So
Mhm.
in my head, I'm like, what does this mean? But like in the hook, he says, he has to just keep on believing, and then he makes his own reasons. So in my head, I'm like, well, maybe it's just about making your own decisions and purpose in life because none of us know what we're doing. We're just riding on the road of life, and it's like, well, make your own answer, So that's my answer to that. But overall, for how this tape starts, uh, it's a good intro. It's a good intro. I'm cool with it. So
Yeah, when the beat came on, I'm like, I thought it was fantastic. I like the xylophone thing at the end of each, loop or whatever. I don't know if I heard the static as much as you did. Just asking from a music standpoint, when you have music that you can't really get rid of, does the mission then become trying to mask the static in the background, or what can you do to kind of minimize that?
so if if I'm sampling something and I'm trying to get rid of it, um, sometimes like with the chops, you might be able to chop it out and then work around it. A lot of
Mhm.
times it's like more of a workaround. I think for this, it might have been a thing where I don't know if it was added in there or if it was part of that sound originally. Um, with Charles, I think a lot of times he'll have stuff like that in there on purpose because that's just the look or that's the direction he's going in.
Mhm.
For me, let's say if I was making the beat and I'm like, there's part of this like best way I can explain it, clipping. Let's say if there's like a certain part of the beat that clips in the beginning or the end, and you keep hearing it every 4 bars, I might be like, uh, I might want to change the sample a little bit where I started later to avoid the clipping or started
Mhm.
sooner. And so it just all depends on what you're looking for. I think for Charles, it wasn't like a static thing where it's like, it's in my head. It's just like, it's just more of a thing where I'm like, why is that there?
Mhm.
It's more like that. If it was something where I'm like, I can't stand it, then that'd be a different story where I tell you, like, yeah, I can't get with the song because it's bothering me that much. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's not too much of that. It's more just a personal like, like I personally like it. So
I love the hook. I think the hook was good. This beginning had me excited for the rest of the tape. I'll be honest. I was like, I'm like you. You said a very particular word. It felt familiar. It felt like, oh, okay, I could take this song and place it on a different tape and it would fit. Like something that I know that I've liked before. And I'm like, okay, this would fit that type of vibe or that era, whatever you want to say, right? So when I heard this, I was like, okay, we're getting this type of tape. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm on board. I want to hear what the rest of this tape's gonna sound like. Um, as far as the verses go, I'm like you. It is called Paranormal Activity, but nothing felt paranormal. Nothing felt weird, and it's odd because are we supposed to take this song, right? Take the name of this song and kind of apply it to the second song? Because to me, that immediately establishes itself as paranormal activity, or at least extraterrestrial, we'll say. Right? So there's that. And then just as far as the flow and like the verse he gives us, there's a conversation to be had about, and we've talked about it on and off on the tape on the podcast, right? But it's the writtens versus what I'm now just gonna refer to as brain raps and or brain writtens and freestyles. To me, there's a difference between the three. I also talked to Charles early last weekend, I believe, and he kind of asked the question around the sense of why does everybody why does everyone fear the unwritten, or like why is everybody so against the unwritten? And I told him, I was like, I don't think at this point people are against the unwritten. You have a lot of fans who love that part of your skill set and that part of your song making, right? You there's a lot of people that love that. And I told him there's nothing bad or good about the unwrittens. Like there's some good unwrittens and there's some not so good unwrittens. However, I told him there's a distinct difference in the way each one sounds. You can immediately 90% of them you can immediately know, like, I know the difference here. It's like when we what was the most recent tape where I was like, that I said it? Because it was a tape that was put in like 2013, but you could tell it was 2007. What did we listen to? Oh man,
Was
it
it
might have
the
been one you
the
had.
short tape with the 5 songs on it?
Yes, the come down.
Come down, come down.
As soon as you hear those songs, even though that was in like 2012, 2013, I forgot what year we said it was. As soon as you heard them from the production wise, just the different sounds during production and just the way you were rapping, it's like, bro, you wrote these down. Like you can tell. Like it's not, there's you could tell. And then I explained it like this. I didn't like how I explained it then because I might have been drinking. But I said that the writtens are like when you're going for your master's and you need to write a thesis, right? There's really no room for going left or going right. It's like, hey, you had this concept, write to this concept. Don't veer off of that because you need this to pass and to fulfill your major or whatever, or your master's or whatever. What I really wanted to say is it's a line that is smooth. There's no ups, downs, something like that. It's like it's very calculated, very cultivated. Whereas then there's the brain writtens that is not necessarily off the map, but it does different loops, right? Sometimes it goes straight and then sometimes it does weird things. And then by the end, it can either look really nice or it's like, where did we go? Where did MapQuest take me? And then there's the ones that I think people have the most issue with is freestyling during songs. And that's like a polygraph test where it's just doing this and you're dealing with a liar, right? It's going all over the place, right? See what I'm saying? So to me, that's the difference. And I was just trying to explain to them, like all three of those things, there are good values from each. But I think that last one, people really would like, especially if you're making a song, people want to hear more conciseness, more clarity when they're listening, because then it's like, what did I just listen to and what was it about?
Yeah, I agree. I know we talked about it on, the come down episode. We also talked about it on, it was an episode we did a while back, Turn First Sessions.
Mhm.
Same thing where you could tell those were written, you know what I mean? Because the song was, let's say the song title was Black Curtain.
Mhm.
Actually, no, let's use the actual song. Saturday Night.
Mhm.
Song's called Saturday Night. Guess what Charles talks about? I'm at home, not wanting to leave my house. Saturday night, I'm in my bed, and it's like, okay, that's what you can tell is written because this is the name of the song. This is what you're talking about in the song.
Mhm.
And then how's it correlate? It's a Saturday night, everyone else is going out. I have other stuff going on in my world. I can't go out. I don't want to go out. So I'd rather stay at home and avoid all that. Boom. Makes sense.
Yep.
Paranormal activity. You have an idea. beat doesn't sound like that, or unless he's just trying to be ironic, like, oh yeah, it's paranormal activity. Like you wouldn't think it'd come out with this, but maybe that's what the static is coming from. But anyway, song's called Paranormal Activity. Don't hear any of that in the song. Basically, he's talking about you know, being mad that he's alive, but he might smash some other chick. And then, where are we going on this road? It's a lot of, it's like, hey, I'm going to the store. What am I getting at the store? There's stuff at the store. When you get stuff at the store, it's like, okay, we get that. You're building up to the store. When do you get to the store? And what did you buy at the store? That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
And and I'll say this real quick. I know what Charles always say, the freestyles or the brain writtens, as you say. It's like he feels more free to say whatever on those compared to writing it down. Makes sense. We completely get that. The situation is when you do the freestyles, that's exactly how they come off. Freestyles. And then it's like, yeah, for a freestyle it's great, but for an actual song concept, it varies because it depends on what you were first talking about and what the beat is and whatever it comes to. Sometimes it's like art, it's abstract. You know what I mean? You throw paint at the wall, whatever. Sometimes it looks great, and other times it's like that's paint on the wall.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on that. So
yeah. So again, I told you that I was very excited about the rest of the tape just off of that. Again, very familiar sound. I was like, okay, not perfect, but I'm like, this is good. I like what I heard. I'm excited to hear track 2. I could barely hear track 2. Next is Nah, Just Sega.
Yo, it's Dick. Just before you watch this part of the episode, I want to let you guys know that there is a massive version on the Charles Sampson app of my Mr. Black Cat. We did not listen to that one. We usually use the YouTube version because it's more accessible, easier to use, doesn't take up storage on your phone. So the portion about Not Just Sega, the second song, is from the YouTube version. If you go to the master version, it sounds differently. Mike already did the listen test for that. So what you're hearing is based off of the YouTube version. Does that change the rating of our the ultimate rating? No, it doesn't. But yeah, just want to let you guys know before I press play again. Yeah, but my mouth hurts. I went to the dentist and it sucks. But y'all don't care about that. So back to the episode.
I got you. Let me. I'll.
Okay.
Here. So just so you guys understand, if this is going to be your first time listening to this, fair warning. With the song Not Just Sega, it is lo-fi. It's a home recording, whatever you want to call it. You know exactly what we're talking about. This is not like an exaggeration. You need headphones to listen to this. You need headphones. There's literally no point to try and listen to it just on your phone, in the car, any other way, because you will have a hard time enjoying and listening to the song. Even with headphones, it's still low, but it's literally the only way. Not only is it the optimal way, it's literally the only way for you to understand anything from the song. So, I will say this though. I like the beat. I do like the beat. I really like the beat. I'm just not sure why the song was recorded like this, because I'll just fast forward. None of the other songs are recorded like this. None of the other songs are super lo-fi like this. Verses, I would say, are emotional. Charles does a great job matching that in the track. I'm interested in the hook though, because he says marijuana plays this game with me, and it sounds like one of those things where it's like, okay. I don't think he really mentions it too much in the verses, but it's like, if marijuana is playing a game on you, either it's a bad batch, or maybe you're realizing, hey, this stuff isn't as good for me as I thought. Maybe I'm becoming more paranoid because of it, or I'm not really getting the benefits from it as I used to,
Yeah.
But he has to find out and see. So that might be a thing of like, hey, he might be talking about what he's really going through with these emotions, with this weed, with whatever's going on in his life. But also the song's called Nah Just Sega. What does that have to do with that? But I will say this. Um Overall, it's a cool song. If I'm just going by like, hey, listen to it in headphones, it's an okay song. Um if I'm not, no. The answer is no, unfortunately. It's one of those things where I'm at a point in time now where I don't mind when Charles does the lo-fi stuff, but if I'm listening in the car, I'm doing this and that, I don't want to have to skip a song just
Mm-hmm.
because it was recorded like that. You know what I mean? Like it just ends up being like inconvenient, and then I might not be able to get the full grasp of the tape. You feel me? So overall, song is okay when you listen to it in the headphones. You know what I mean? Charles says some good stuff in it, but overall, when it's like, oh well, if I don't have my headphones, it's like, well, I have to skip that song. So it's one of those things where I'm like that's going to play a big part in how I rate this tape, to be honest. So
Yeah, fortunately for me, you were able to at least tell me beforehand, before I actually got a chance to listen, hey, you're gonna need headphones for track two. And I'm hard headed and stubborn. So I had to at least see for myself like how bad it was as far as the audio quality. I couldn't believe it. I let me do the song first. The song's okay. I'm like you. The song's okay. I like the emotional gravitas of the song. You were talking about how what does the Sega have to do with, Charles alludes to Sega and how that's the aliens, right? And there's a lot of talk of aliens in the song. So I think that's the connection there, right? So at least the title is connected in some way based on what we know about Charles and what he said about Sega and whatnot. Song's okay. Uh I can't be eager to re-listen to it when I know I need headphones. I was so disheartened for going to what I think was pretty decent audio quality on the first one, right? To then just dip so low, no Christina Milian, to this number two, Naja Sega. It was just it's so weird. So it was so jarring. I was like, bro, like imagine like you're in the car and you're like, yo, let's listen to Black Cat. And like you listen to the first song, and you're jamming out, and then it fades out. And then you don't know that a second song is even playing because it's so low, and you're just like, all right, let's at least try to see what he's saying, but you can't because it's that muddled in. It's like my excitement like then dips to half immediately because I'm like, oh, is this gonna be the rest of the tape, right? So now my whole mood is thrown off by it. Yeah, the song just needs headphones. Like if you're in a bind and like you're trying to listen to it off your phone, or if you want to cast it to a speaker that you have in your house, or you're in the car, or anything like that, you have to skip this song. You can't play this. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's bad. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that choice from a production standpoint.
yeah, I'm not a fan of that because like I was saying earlier, in the car, like I'm like, okay, it's low, so I'll just turn it up. And usually like I'll have like my volume at like 40, 35, 40 or something like that. I'm like, it's
Mhm.
too low. Let's go to 45, 50. No, it's still like
Yeah.
it's the music's louder, but it's still lower. I don't even know how he did that. Like if playing it like trying to make it louder, and it's getting louder, but it's still low to
Hmm.
the point where I'm like, oh man, no, can't, just can't, man. So it would be interesting if, when we have those type of like concepts, like we talked about it with Gia's apartment. I remember I told you there's that one, and it's gone, but there's a one version he had where like the beat would switch from like back and forth,
Yep.
whatever. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? If there's like a separate version where it's like, hey, this is this version, listen to it with earphones or whatever, then hey, this is the actual just, but it's one of those things where if you are the producer, the engineer or engineer, um you- that that's something that really is going to affect everybody, when everyone's listening to this. So it is what it is.
We follow that up with later on. I have here, I don't like or dislike this song. Um, but I did say this will be an example of a situation where he is it sounds like he's rapping to rap again. because it's like I don't feel any connection to what he's saying. I know he's rapping and I know he's rhyming, and we all know he's a good rhymer. I think he actually says that in a song. Can't remember if it was this one or a different one, but he's like really good at rhyming, basically to that extent. But it's like I have nothing to hold on to and be like, okay, this song is I feel it. You know what I'm saying? I feel this song from a personal standpoint. Um, yeah, it's there for me. Like it doesn't make me pull left or right or like as far as liking or disliking. So for me, it's just there on this one.
Okay. So for me, and the crazy thing is, another thing that kind of makes it worse for not just Sega, because we have the first song, Paranormal Activity, where obviously you hear the vocals and everything is like right here. Not just Sega dips super low right there. And then later on kind of goes back up to where Paranormal's at. So then it's
Mhm.
just like now I gotta turn the sound down. You
Yeah.
know, because like so yeah, it's like stuff like that, like shouldn't be done. But I heard the beat coming in. I'm like, okay, not sure what the sample is, whatever, but it sounded interesting. And then it changes. And I'm like, uh, was this like an interlude or something?
Mhm.
And the sample cuts off, and then like the beat just changes. And this is the best way I can explain it, because I know that Charles probably has like a name for it. I call it the Atari sound. But basically, like when the beat actually comes in and you hear Charles rapping, the beat's like bleep bleep bloop 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 bleep 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 bleep. It's a bunch of bleeps and bloops. You know what I mean? It just
Mhm.
reminds me of Atari. Um, I've heard Charles do this on tapes, maybe in like around 2013, 2014 era. I'm not sure exactly when it started, but I remember I heard some songs where you'd hear like a sample, and then instead of him using that sample the whole way through, he starts doing the bleeps and bloops and whatnot, whatever. Like
Mhm.
basically, it's like him using like the keyboard or whatever, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna just use this, for the beat. Um, Never been a fan of it.
Mhm.
Never been a fan of it. I'm sorry, just I'm not a fan of it. To me, this is the way I explain it. It comes off kind of like he wanted to do something, then like ran out of ideas, and it's like, or we ran out of sounds. It's like, well, uh, that's all I got. Here we go. Here it is. Um, Also something that might make more sense if you've ever had you've ever been doing some type of work, right? And you have your printer and you have to print something in color, and halfway through the job, it loses color. You
Yeah.
ran out of color. So now you just have black and white. So until you actually get that cartridge, and that specific cartridge that you need for your printer, because in case you guys don't know that, you can't just put any cartridge, any color cartridge in there for your printer to work. It has to be a specific one for your printer. It's just gonna be in black and white. So for me, I'm just like, uh, when it comes to the vocals and everything, the verses are cool. I enjoy the hook. Um, One thing that I kind of like about it is like when the hook comes back in, you hear that sample come back in, you know, and then I'm like, okay, that's the sound. Like I was enjoying that.
Mhm.
But then when the hook goes back, goes away, and then he goes back to rapping, he's bleeps and bloops. So
Mhm.
uh overall, I guess you could say it's not really for me. Like I said, I only like a section of the songs, but like just the bleeps and bloops, like I've heard Charles do that on other songs. I don't know what that sound is, but nah, not for me. So
Yeah. I understand. I think we've had this conversation too, just about I think the last time I remember you saying it was well, one of the time I remember it was on Where's Charles Hamilton. I forgot what the song is called, but I do know what you're talking about. Just it kind of sounds video gamey, kinda, but it's yeah, I can see why that's would be hit or miss with certain people. The other thing too, man, is just that third verse, and and I'll talk more about this later, but it's just like I was saying, it's just rapping a rap. It's like the flows. It was like it almost felt like I'm gonna say two words, then I'm gonna pause and say another two words, but they rhyme, and I'm gonna pause, say another couple words, and you know what I'm saying. It just felt choppy, like it wasn't. What's the word I'm looking for? It was rapping, but it was almost like he was looking like in his brain he sees like a word bank, and like it's slow, like the words are slowly coming down. It's like rhyme with this word, then rhyme with this word, then rhyme with this word. It may not connect, but just rhyme and just see what happens. That's what it felt like.
So I'm gonna let you finish, but when that normally happens, I can't speak for everybody, but when that normally happens, I know exactly what you're talking about because that happens to me sometimes. But
Mhm.
when that happens,
When you freestyling,
when you're freestyling, exactly when you're freestyling.
yeah.
So like when you start off with a certain sentence or a certain, topic, whatever,
Hmm.
you're not really worried about the stuff that's in the middle. You're
Yeah,
worried about the end. I mean, maybe some people aren't, but it's end rhyme for a reason. You know what I mean? So I have a Gatorade Zero. I just finished it. Diminishing. Spin like you like
yeah.
I don't have you see how I paused right there?
You almost hit it with spinaches.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
know. I
I
saw
could.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, I could have, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where it's like the middle part, or if I flub it or whatever, like it doesn't matter, as long as if you flub in the beginning or middle, that's not really the problem. Messing up the next bar at the end bar, that's where it's like, ah, damn, because now you have to double back and you have to really make sure, or you might have to repeat something, or you have to do something like, I meant to do that.
yeah,
You have to make up for it. But that's usually when that type of stuff happens. So, and I'm not saying he was freestyling, but that's how that stuff comes off. So if you are writing in your head doing a brain
yeah,
written, but you're doing that, that's why it sounds like a freestyle, because that's what everyone normally does when they freestyle. So
yeah. I use this analogy all the time, but it just feels like the Scooby Doo villain. It's like these are brain writtens, and then you at the end, they're like, we'll see who this guy really is. It was a freestyle the old, you know what I'm saying? That's what it feels like sometimes. No, seriously, dead ass. Like that's what it feels like. So it's like,
I had to say this real quick because me and Charles, when we have a conversation, cause I asked him about certain samples. I'm like, do you actually get like salty like when I post certain samples or whatever? And he kind of does, not like he's mad, but he kind of does get salty about it a little bit, because he's not talking about the ones that are already out there, like the ones
mm,
that I know that I'm like, oh, this is this sample. Oh, I'm making this for who Shaw sample.
yeah,
And then he'll be like, and basically I said, is it like the Scooby Doo thing where I mask it, and then you're like, I would have got away with it too, if it wasn't for you meddling StarChasers.
yeah.
We were talking about Scooby Doo, so it's funny that you said that. I literally said that to him.
I told you we got a vibe going right now. But yeah, that's what it feels like to me sometimes, man. It's just like it's like I understand the freeness of being able to freestyle, but like sometimes if you're trying to craft songs, it doesn't lend well to creating one. Now he's made a bunch of great songs by freestyling. He's done it, but it's like it varies more often than if it was more of like a concise, written type of situation, whether it's on the paper or in the brain.
One more example. Sorry, one more example. Um, Cooking. When someone cooks, right?
Mm,
If you go by the measurements and you measure everything out, you can't fuck it up because
mm,
you went by the instructions. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Now, if you add a little extra this and that, and you're going by feeling or whatever, sometimes it could come out even better. But you also
yeah,
run the risk of, oh, if you overcook it or you undercook it or you added too much flour or you didn't add enough salt, that now the product could come out a little bit differently. And everyone has different taste buds. So some people could be like, oh, I actually like it a little bit more salty. Or some people like, oh, well, I like it a little bit more doughier and whatnot. But that's how the process is. So it all depends on who you're catering to and who you're going for.
yeah. The next song, make sure I had the title correct. It is Steps in Tetris.
Then again, that's the position that I'm in. Rapping but living in climates that cats haven't been. And if they have, damn, I'm pissed. Yo, step by step to the left. Shit. Step by step to the right. Step by step to the mic. Get the grooving on the mic now. Make my day.
For this song, it was not what I expected, but not in a bad way, because in my head I was like steps in Tetris. So I'm like, I figured more of a video game sample, but he's already sampled Tetris before, so
Hmm.
I didn't know exactly what to expect. I know the sample, but I'm not going to say it now, even though the beat says it later. I'll say it later when I post it on Who is Charles Hamilton sample later on this week. So But it's a groovy beat, nice 90s dance sample. That's all I'll say for right now. So yeah, I know. You know that I know that you know that I know. But
Right.
I said you could definitely tell where Charles is going with the song. This
Yeah.
is one of the ways where I'm like, okay, even though the song is called Steps in Tetris, but you hear the beat, I'm like, it makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Like, okay, he's trying to be groovy. It's going to be like some type of dance type of
Hmm.
song. You know what I mean? So, um, and the hook has a little dance routine. It says step to the left, step to the right, step to the mic. You know what I mean? But he's a you got to groove down, you know, and make his day. You know what I mean? But like with the lyrics, he's not necessarily telling you to dance, but dance with your bars and whatnot, whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting concept. You know what I mean? Because you can get groovy on the floor with the bars and the beats. You know what I mean? Not necessarily doing dances because not everyone is. Some people are dance challenged, I guess you could say. But I like to say the verses are simple, but they're dope. Overall, it's a pretty good song compared to like the other songs we had, where it's like, oh, this was good, but you know, I don't know what this means, or this was too lo-fi, or this was, I don't know. Overall, this is just good. You know, I don't really have too much to say about it. Like, hey, it's good. So
Yeah, I will say when the beat starts, like when the song first starts, that doo-doon, doo-doon, doo-doon. Ooh, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, dog. Oh my God, it went on way too long, bro. I was like, ain't no way, boy. Then it starts. She's like, okay, this is fine. This is fine. The song's okay. Um, it's, again, similar to the last song, that third verse. I'm just like, you're doing it again, where it's like word bank, word bank, and like, okay. The song's okay. Otherwise than that, though, I do like the it's he's definitely going for the dance vibes here. And once you listen to it, you start bobbing your head. You start, okay, I get it. And I like what you did with the sample as far as with the hook tying those two things in or whatever. So yeah, I'm like you because it closely mirrors the title and you can kind of get an idea of what he's going for. It kind of makes the song a little bit better than what it is.
yeah, it's one of those things where how do I explain it? Um, you said the word bank thing when he did in the third verse.
Mhm.
This might just be a personal thing, but I like to ask Charles, because a lot of these songs he does like three verses,
Mhm.
and for most people, third verses are like sometimes they're underrated, but also at the same time, like it's more of an outdated like song format. Most people really don't
Yeah.
do third verses anymore. Like if you're lucky, you get two verses, a hook, and then you might get like a bridge or something like that, a
Yeah.
little chorus or something. Um, but Charles is like, nah, we doing three verses over here. Any particular reason for that? It might just be like we said earlier. Obviously, we know Charles likes to rap, so and it's one of those things where even three verses don't make songs long. You know what I mean? It's like standard. It's like standard song format where it's like maybe 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Maybe it might go to 4 minutes. You know,
Mhm.
but I thought about that. I'm like, yeah, he still does third verses, three verses. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things I wonder about. I'm like, what makes him still do three verses? I know he doesn't always do it, but I think a lot of songs. So he's committed to it. He's committed to
Yeah.
do three verses.
Yeah. He is throughout the years. Most of the time, it's three verses. And I feel like that's just a standard that we got used to as well. Like the new generation is like two verses that we out of here, big dog. 2 minute. But then there are some people who do three verses, but the song's still less than 2 minutes. Really quick interjection. Call Me a Bird. I don't know. That Glorilla song, Hold On, that new one, it's got three verses in it. But that song is barely past 2 minutes. And
Yeah,
still fire though. So it's definitely you can still do that low 2 minute thing that people are going for like TikTok streams or like streaming or whatever. But you can still have three verses and still have a fire song. So like it's definitely possible.
yeah. I think it, like I said, just all depends on like what you're going for. And like I said, I think I just got so used to like the two verses because 50 Cent became like the master of that. Because eventually he would just do two verses. That's it. That's all you get. You know what I mean? And then obviously some people would do three, and I felt like the whole industry just started just doing two. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So I think this might be the resurgence of three verses, but it's coming with an asterisk where it's like you can do three, but you got to make sure that it's still it's captivating. You know what I mean? You still keep keeping people around. You know what I mean? Don't have people shut off halfway through the song. Either if you
Hmm.
can't keep their attention, you do two. If you can do three and you can keep their attention the whole way through, hey, go for yours.
50 might be the best, one of the top 5 two-verse rappers of all time. You think about all the songs that he said two verses on, they're almost always fire. Window Shopper, I think I Get Money had 2 verses.
Yeah, had two verses, then it had the little
Little
bridge.
bridge thing at the
Whatever.
end. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 50 was yeah. Pride 50 is crazy.
Yeah, man.
Pride
Crazy.
50 was nuts. The next song is ooh, now is it 2 titles? Like, it's so weird. It's I Have Weed, the Tom Tom Club.
I guess that's what we're calling it. Cause
That's
I don't know if it was like if it was just supposed to be called weed. Maybe Charles wanted to call it weed, but then he probably realized, hey, I probably have a song called Weed. Remember we talked about the Come Down,
yeah,
where there's like a project called the Come Down, then there's the instrumental called the Come Down, then there's a song called the Come Down. So
yeah,
he's like, all right, well, let me add something else to it. So there we go. Weed, the Tom Tom Club.
yeah. Um, this one, the beat is crazy. The beat is I love the beat so much. Um, the problem is that the beat is kind of battling the vocals. So like when he started rapping, I was like, "Oh, he's rapping, but it feels so low." You know what I'm saying? Like it's the beat's kind of drowning out what he's trying to say or whatever. So not quite. This one isn't a need headphones thing, but it is a probably a little bit easier on the ears if you're trying to listen to what he's saying if you had the headphones or whatever. I like this song. I think this was one of the better songs on the tape personally. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I will agree. You don't need headphones for this. Like I listen to it in the car and it's fine. Like the way I can explain it sometimes is when let's say, and it's crazy because we can talk about freestyling a lot. When you have like an instrumental in the car with the homies and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, you have the beat up, as long as you're rapping loud enough for people to hear you, it's fine. You know what I mean? That's the type of audio it sounds like, where it's like, oh, I'm just saying this loud enough so y'all can hear me. Don't really worry about. And I've heard Charles say this on one of the lives before too, where when I think he was in the other spot before he got
Mhm.
his actual spot, where people are like, yo, can you turn the beat down a little bit? And because I can hear you, but I want to be able to hear you clearly. And
Yeah.
Charles was like, yo, like, don't worry about necessarily what I'm saying, like focus on the vibes. And I'm like, yeah, but I'll say this, for a freestyle for a live, yeah, I get that. But for an actual song, I know he didn't say this for the song, but that's something that's like, no. I want to listen to the song because I
Mhm.
want to hear you and the beat
Yeah.
together in sync, in harmony. Backstreet Boys is back. All right. No, but seriously, like for an actual song, I want to be able to hear both. I don't want to hear one overpowering the other. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Um, so for this beat, I said that it was I'm gonna just say pause already because someone's gonna say it. I said the beat was explosive and vibrant, because it has this like loud, there's the horns and everything.
Yeah.
Um, it reminds me of like something from the DMV, like Go Go,
Yeah, for sure.
um, particularly remember Wale had that song Pretty Girls with Gucci?
Pretty girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that beat gives me that type of vibe to it, whatever. It sounds like that, you know what I mean? But like I like that song, so I hear this, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like you said, beats a little too loud. When you have it in your headphones in and whatnot, it's still a little too loud, but it's
Mhm.
more just like, oh, it's straight, so it's not that bad, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, and maybe that's how Charles is mixing it, where he's like, I'm not mixing it for the car, I'm mixing it for the headphones. And I know he's
Mhm.
done that before. So hook's good. Said I hope you never forget. He keeps saying it over and over because that's just one of those things. Um, you want to make sure people don't forget your name, don't forget the music, don't forget everything you've been through. Um, the song, I don't want to say it has like a bittersweet sound to it, but it sounds like there's an ending of something, but let's celebrate while we're here. You know what I mean? Just like, hey, like it could be a thing where like, hey, that for you, you'd be happy about it, so you wouldn't care. But let's say if you were at a job that you probably enjoyed with a lot of great workers, and it's like, hey man, we're all about to go find another job or go to another venture, but we had a great time here. Hopefully we all stay in touch. It sounded something like that, whatever. But it's a good song though. I rock with it.
You were close. You were close. Um, the only difference between what you just said and what I'm gonna do is like, wow, we had a great time with each other. I do not care if I see you ever again. So, but if I see you out in the wild, I'll dap you up and like, yo, remember that time? And then, I'm like, oh man, look who's over there. And then I'm gonna disappear like Batman. I don't know. I think you were close. You almost had me to a T. Not quite. The next song is Interception. Um, the one thing I took away from it, I don't like. I'm not a fan of this song. The one thing I took from this though is what I wrote down was the flows on this tape are so hit and miss. Like just the verses, just they aren't there for me. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not like he's saying anything where it's like controversial. It's not saying anything that's just like, that's not top tier rapping or anything like that. It's just that there's no personal connection for me. It's like you just, you know, I respectfully, I know guys who do what he's doing on a tape, and it was like I can go listen to them, and they'll do this exact same thing, and maybe they're making an actual song, and like maybe they wrote it down. You know what I'm saying? I might have a more of a connection to them or what they're doing versus but him because I know what he can do when he has a little bit more focus. I think he even said on a previous song, maybe 3 songs ago, like I'm kind of focused, and I'm like just based off of what's going on in some of the verses, I I don't know. It doesn't have that same focus feel to it for me. So yeah, this one probably is other than Nah Just Sega. I think this might be my least favorite song on the tape.
Okay. All right. Um, so I first started off by saying it's a nice sample and beat flip. I'm sure Charles had sampled it before. I'm like, it's one of those common classic rock songs. I'm not gonna say the name for this one either.
Right.
Everyone knows it. Um, Once again, this beat I feel is a little too loud, similar like the last one.
Hmm.
So with these two songs being back to back, what this reminded me of was we talked about it on the anti-Hamilton episode, where there's
Yep.
certain songs where it's like beats a little bit too loud than what Charles is talking about, whatever, and you can kind of hear what he's saying for the most part. But like I said, just it's one of those things. Um, Overall, I was okay with the hook. If I remember, he was doing a little singing on it. Um, Verses are nice. Sometimes that's hit and miss where, sometimes he'll decide, hey, I'm gonna sing on this, and then he'll go back to rapping. And sometimes it's hit and miss, especially with some of the newer projects where it's
Yeah.
like not that the singing's bad, but it's just like, once again, what are you talking about?
Right.
Um, so for me, I'm like the song comes off as a long drive to nowhere. So Charles is just talking about what's on his mind.
Mhm.
And like you said before, on a previous song, he said, "Yeah, I'm focused." And for the longest time, fans have said to Charles, like, "Yeah, on some of these songs, when you're freestyling or writing in your head, you don't sound focused." And I think there's always been a disconnect for what that means, because
Mhm.
like basically Charles, I mean, not Charles, the fans have basically been, well, some of the older fans that aren't here anymore. Basically, they're just like, "Stop freestyling." That's
Yes.
what they mean. The newer fans are like, for the most part, like what you said, um, find a topic and stay on that topic, stay on the subject, whatever, and just make that the song. But Charles, of course, he said, he doesn't want to be restricted in one lane. He wants to,
Mhm.
be able to be well versatile, whatever. But it's like in some of these songs, you'll go from talking about having a great day to dying on a Wednesday to, eating a fish fillet, you know what I mean, sprinkling Old Bay. Like it's like you're talking about a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
then the title was called Burger King was closed. You know what I mean? It's just like, all right, okay, like it's just like where's it going? You know what I
Right.
mean? So, and my thing is this: everyone loves vibes, but sometimes vibes just ain't enough. You know what I mean? Overall for me, song's okay. Song's okay.
Yeah. Talk about a fish fillet, and then the title is called Burger King was closed. It's kind of wild, but it kind of makes sense because if Burger King was closed, then you got to go to McDonald's. hit up the fish fillet. And then in your glove compartment, you had some Old Bay. That's kind of wild.
Why was the Old Bay in the glove compartment? Like that shit was probably like expired and like on fire. You know what I mean? Because like eventually, let's say it's like noon or 1 o'clock. Your car is hot.
Steaming.
You're gonna put some hot Old Bay on the fish fillet. Like, all right, okay. Like, teach their own.
Now,
Teach them.
to be fair, I don't know if you did this. I used to do this in high school during lunch. I used to bring Cajun season from home.
No, I've never done that.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't see there's anything necessarily wrong with it, but like for me, like I'm trying to think of anything I had at high school where I'm like I needed to add something, and nah, most of the stuff I ate at our high school is like the regular stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be something where like let's say they had like cheeseburgers or something like that day for lunch. Like they have ketchup and mustard. It's nothing I could think of where I'm like, oh nah, I could have brought this from home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Actually, you know what? I'll expose myself. I don't do it anymore, but what I used to do, right? This makes more sense. So let's say spaghetti. You get
Okay.
spaghetti at home, spaghetti at school. I never did this out in public,
Okay.
but this is at least me showing my weird side. So like whoever wants to bomb on me, whatever. My brother put cheese on his. You know what I mean? Okay, put some cheese on there.
Yep.
I wanted to do the opposite. Because let's say when me and my brother would eat hot dogs and hamburgers, he was he was ketchup, I was mustard. So I'm like, what's the opposite of cheese? Oh, bologna. So I would put little slices of that. Dead serious. I'm being dead serious. I used to put slices of bologna on my spaghetti, bro. I'm being dead serious. I stopped doing it after a certain point in time. I'm like, yo, someone's gonna find out my secret, and I can't let them find this out. So I have a picture. I'm gonna send it to you after this episode. I have a picture of like me having bologna on spaghetti. I'm gonna send it to you. Dead serious. I'm dead fucking serious.
I guess I have two questions. Two points, right? That's really, oh man. First off, number one, what in your mind said, "Hey, red is the opposite of blue. Uh, black is the opposite of white. Uh, Baloney is the opposite." She's like, what in your mind was like, yo, what are you doing? Why did you think that?
I was 7. I was like 7 or 8. I'm like, it's the opposite, man. Yeah, that works. And then I liked it. That's the problem. It'd be like, oh, this is, I would eat it. I would eat it.
Point number two is it's wild to be on the FBI's watch list since 7 because I know once they found out about you, they were like, "Hey, yo, dog, put his name on the list. We don't know what he's gonna become, but just put it on there just in case." You're on their watch list. They're watching you right now.
That's fine. That's okay. You know what I mean? So, they've been watching me for a while, so they must like what they see. You know what I mean? Because I am a sexy ass man, and there's nothing anybody can do about it personally. So,
That is the motto. Let me get off of this topic because holy shit. Um, wow. The next song is, and I'll make sure I get this correct. Too Hard to Love, and he spelled it in the way he's done in different songs. LUVE. How you feel about that one?
I feel like I can relate to the song because I was always putting bologna on my spaghetti. So
You
that
are too
probably
hard to love now. Yep.
that made me very hard to love. See me on Tinder. Hey, I like long walks on the beach. I like bologna on my spaghetti.
Swipe.
Yeah. Why is no one matching with me? No, but seriously,
Oh.
that's going to be the thing of this episode. All right. So I said this has a familiar sound to the last song.
Mm.
And like I guess maybe because like not saying because the samples are the same, but like it's that feeling of sadness, maybe depression, wanting to vent, 'cause I feel like the last song kind of had that type of, aura to it. I feel like Charles had a little bit more energy on this song. I did say the bleeps and the bloops, the Atari beats are back, but it's more in the background. And
Mhm.
I have no problem with that because it works better as a supporting cast member than the lead. Because with that other beat, it was just like right front and center. I'm like,
Yeah.
mm. All right. But with this, you hear it in the background with the beat, whatever. But like I said, it's more in the back, just like every now and again.
Yeah.
You hear it hit. So I'm like, oh, that works. That works. You know what I mean? I said the hook was okay. Overall, I said the song was all right. I feel like Charles has done similar songs to this, but better. You know what I mean? Like where you're talking about, being sad or depressed or, being too hard to love. And, I think this was a song where, you know how we were talking about the Old Bay and fish fillet thing, whatever. Like
Hmm.
he said, something about if it's cold outside, it's July. Or so I think this is that song. And I'm like, that's the a perfect example of the word bank thing where it's just
Hmm.
like, but it's like I said, it's okay, but it's one of those things where I'm like I said, I've heard him do songs like this, and it's not as like that. But the beats cool, verses are all right, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. I did appreciate like the subdued feeling of the song, like the vibes and it felt like a gloomy song. So it kind of it attaches to the title of the song immediately, right? Um, it's okay. It's not. I won't say it's something that I'm gonna revisit a lot. Might be one of those ones where like it hits shuffle, like on a big playlist. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this song. I remember this when I listened to the Black Cat or whatever. So Mr. Black Cat. Now there was a strong positive to this song that I did not anticipate before listening to this project. And had I not listened to this project, it would have took me at least a few months before I actually remembered about this. The first two lines, he talks about being defensive, like player of the year. And I was like, oh shit. That reminds me. One of my favorite songs, and one that now looking back on it, I wish I put on the top 50 playlist, Defensive Player of the Year. I love that fucking song. Immediately hit pause, went to find the song, added it to my playlist. So, shout out to this song for reminding me about that song. I love Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know what it's on. I feel like it's a Lucy. I'm not sure, but when we get to it, I would like to talk about it.
Definitely. And we will. I haven't heard it in a while. And I had the same thing where I was like, I heard him say that. I'm like, did he have a song called that? I was like, I gotta make sure I go back to make sure I look that up or whatever. But I definitely remember hearing that song previously, like when it came out. So
Yeah. So, song's okay. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's compared to some of the stuff on here, it's okay. Um, we finish off with Rehab, parentheses necessary.
What could be next in love or what's next? Are you my guest? Or where do I dare to go? To have you like there we go. Promise me you'll leave me never. I will be in love forever. Promise me you'll leave me never. I will be in love forever.
so with this song, um, I like how the beat starts, it's really good. And then when the verses start, the Atari sound is back,
Hmm.
kind of. I'm not sure um what's the creative direction when Charles does that, where like he'll add his own keys in there and like
Yeah.
it'll be these different sounds, but it's not the bleeps and bloops. It's a different type of sound. I'll consider it like a Sega sound.
Hmm.
And the reason I say that is to me it sounds like you remember on Sonic, right? When you hit the TV and it's the Sonic shield, it's the ooh,
Whoa. Hmm.
that's what it sounds like. It sounds like he took that sound and then just start he put that into like whatever software he uses and then use that to play that as sounds and
Hmm.
whatnot, whatever, play that as the beat. Um and basically sound like Charles was experimenting with it. And I feel like that's what the song sounds like too,
Hmm.
after being hurt, you know what I mean, needing a new sort of protection, but also understanding it's not a permanent fix. Because, obviously the first time you play Sonic, you lose your rings or whatever, and then it's just like, oh man, of course, as long as you have one ring, you're good.
Yeah.
But, what is another way to avoid that? You get the Sonic Shield, it's like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? You can kind of be a little bit more reckless. But once you lose that, it's like, ah man, it's not as good as the invincibility where you really can't die unless you like fall off the map. But
Right.
um that's what the song kind of sounded like too, like because what he was talking about in the song, you know what I mean? Because if you're talking about rehab or needing something necessary, it's like you need some type of protection in your life or something that's going to make you feel safe again. I like the hook. Verses were cool. I'm not sure if this was supposed to be like a love song or what was it about, because I know he mentioned Rihanna at one point, and then at the end
Hmm.
he's talking about "I love you" and whatnot. So sometimes when Charles does these type of songs, I'm like, is he talking about a person, or is he talking about like how the music business or how music has treated him? Because of course, there's a long history of that where it's
Yeah.
like, hey, I've spent my whole career, almost my whole life, being a musician, and it always hasn't paid me in the fairest of ways or the fondest of ways either. But overall, one of the better songs from this project, whatever. So I'd say it's a good ending. It's a cool song. I like it.
Yeah, I think the tape closes really well with this song. I like this one a lot. Between this and Paranormal Activity, probably for my favorite songs on the tape. Um, like I said, the beat's good. I like the way he's rapping on here. It feels a little bit more concise, a little bit. Um, and yeah, it's vibrant. The energy's vibrant, the beat's vibrant, the verses are vibrant. I like the hook. Like all of that just feels. This feels like it's almost like I don't know. It almost feels like the first two songs he made with this one and Paranormal Activity, and then he had to fit the other stuff in between. I said that you had mentioned something earlier that stuck with me because I had the exact same thing. This tape is about. It's about. This tape is like when you go to a Blockbuster or a movie store or a bookstore and you pick up a book and you see the cover, front cover, and you're like, "Oh, this looks nice. This looks like something interesting." And then the next thing you do is you flip to the back and you read the description in the back. And you're like, "Oh, this sounds like this is something that I would like." And that's what this first and last song are like to me. I was really excited about that first song. That's the front cover for me. And in this back song and the end, I'm like, okay, this ends the tape really well. Let's see what's on the inside. And that's where things took a depending on who you are. You're either gonna be like, oh, my predictions were correct, or this is not what I expected, right? As far as the song goes though, like I said, I think it ends the tape pretty well and ends it on a strong note.
Yeah, I totally agree. And not every Charles tape does that. Sometimes you get like
Hmm.
a not the greatest start, but then the ending's like phenomenal. And then
Yeah.
other times it's just like, oh, this starts it off great, and then the rest of it is iffy, depending on what you're looking for as a star chaser.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you a question about, and you had even mentioned too, but as far as not just Sega, and we can kind of bleed this into our review. Um, the hope or the excitement of hearing a snippet or seeing a trailer or hearing a single for like the first time and being like, "Oh, is this what this person's on? I can't wait to see the rest of what the full project is going to be like," and how that excitement and either it's how it affects your review or critique. Can it push you in a way where it's like you're blinded by something, or like you're let down by the initial excitement? What would you say as far as that?
I would say yes. No, seriously. I would seriously, because I deal with it almost all the time. Like when I'm scrolling on TikTok, whatever, and like it's not even about like, oh, someone's trying to do this hit song and I picked the first interesting 15 seconds of it, whatever. There's times where I'll see DJs on there doing certain mix and blends and whatnot, and whatever the section is in the video, I'm like, do they have this on SoundCloud or is it on Spotify or
Hmm.
where because I want to listen to it like immediately.
Yeah.
And there's been times where I've been like, this wasn't what I thought I was hearing on there. Like maybe I clicked on the wrong, the wrong video, the wrong thing, or whatever.
Hmm.
Or and then sometimes that's happened because it's like, oh, this song isn't out yet. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I gotta wait for it to come out. But it's definitely been some times where, you know, marketing wise, you know what I mean? People do their jobs because it builds the excitement. But then
Hmm.
when you hear the whole thing, sometimes it's just that exciting part is just the most exciting part, and then you hear the rest of the song and it's like, not that it's bad, but you just expected it to be like that the whole way through, or
Yep.
most of it, and then it's not. Um, it's one of those things like you said with the cover, the front and the back, and then when you look inside, even with something like not just Sega, it's just like, all right, like, but how do you necessarily warn people that type of stuff? Because the thing
Yep.
is, like, when it comes to music, you should be leading with your best foot forward, and if you
Mhm.
think that's your best foot, then of course you're going to take the next step with the other foot, you
Mhm.
know. Excuse me, but it's one of those things where it's very tricky. It's very tricky, but it's one of those things where if you're going for a certain sound or a certain idea, whatever, you have to be confident in it too. As long as you're confident in it, I think for the most part it works out for the best. But even if it doesn't, as long as you take that information and do what you can with it, then it's like, all right, well, this is what I did, this is what they said, you know what I mean? And in retrospect, um, I know what to do next in the future when it comes to the next project or the next sound, the next song, the next, endeavor, next,
Mhm.
next move. So
Yeah, I think that it can do. I think it has both effects. But for me, a lot of times it does more harm than good because you're like, "Ooh, this sounds good. This trailer looks great. This looks good." And then you get to the actual, episode, or like even the first episode sometimes can be like, "Oh, the first episode sets it up great." And then you get to that second one, you're like, "Ooh, this is a downturn." I think two examples I can think of really quick before we rate our stuff is, I think the first example is what I saw recently. So there's a new anime about to come out. It's called Uzumaki, and the animation from the trailer and the animation from the first episode are like really out there, top tier. Like you could tell they put a lot of the budget in there, right? Today I saw somebody was like, "Yo, what happened so fast?" And they said the second episode animation takes such a huge drop, and it's like now it's like you drag people in, your main point was the animation, like, "Oh, this is great," and then like you get to the second episode, it's like you've already took that away from me, so now you were expecting me to just be like, "Well, stay along for the story," but it's like, you've taken a risk by trying to, I wouldn't even say catfish, but like let's just use that word, catfish the fans into hopping on the bandwagon, and now you're like, well, now you can just stay, go ahead and pay for my dinner anyway. It's like, nah, that's not how this works, right? Um, and then another example is, like you said, TikTok songs. There was that one girl, I still think she's Mos Def's daughter. I think that's what it is, Layla or something, Lila or
yeah,
something.
yes, yeah, that is.
So she had that song, and I was like, is this one of those examples where like if I play the whole song sucks, the rest of the song sucks, and it's just that point? But I was pleasantly surprised, and it wasn't. I like that song, and then she has a nice little EP that came out. And then and you're a TikTok guy, the TikTok trend and the sound I was playing where people were pretending to be like, what happens when an anime character dies and says goodbye to their friend or whatever, and like the song was playing in the background or whatever. I forgot what the song was, but people were like, "Yo, when you find out what the rest of the song sounds like, yo, that sucks. The song sucks, but that 10 to 15 second part is fire." So it's like it's a risk and a reward thing. I think the risk is higher than the reward, but yeah, it can definitely affect a critique or review. Um, Speaking of which, we just listened to Mr. Black Cat, Mike, and I would like you to give it a review, a rating. Let us know any pros and cons, and what character rating are you giving it, man?
All right. I'm glad we finally got to this part because you started like you said, bleeding into like what I was going to say, and I'm like, oh, let's wrap it up, B. Wrap it up. No, so um I did say Charles does sound focused for most of it, most of the project. Like when we're talking about just the lyrics and whatnot.
Mhm,
For me, I'm like, um, when we're talking about there's no stumblings, there's nothing like that, whatever.
mhm,
He's very, very concise with that part.
mhm,
It's just obviously sometimes when we hear the title and then he's not talking about anything in the title and then he's jumping back and forth. But like if we're just talking about like the vocals, that he does sound focused for the most part. Um, Here's the part where I was like, don't say what I wrote on here. I said there are some imperfections and most are done for style. Some of those choices harm the overall product. Direction for sound and audio is questionable. Some songs sound fine, others are doing their own thing. For projects, it would be better if there was a cohesive and unified front. So, for example, for not just Sega, right? If you're doing a whole lo-fi thing, make the whole thing lo-fi. Don't have
Yeah.
some standard sound and then you do some lo-fi, then you do the dirty leather wallet sound, then you do the no, just like either make it all like this or not like this. Like for at least for Anti-Hamilton. Like we said, a lot of the songs were like, oh, the beat's a little bit too loud for the vocals, but
Mm-hmm.
most of that project was like that. So it's like, well, okay, I get that then. But it's like Naja Sega is like super lo-fi. Then you got two songs that are a little bit too loud for the beat, and then the other songs are, okay, sounding wise. Um, but yeah, I was basically saying either make them all lo-fi or make them all high, whatever the case is. Um, I think the best solution for that, because of course Charles liked to experiments with music and everything. I said experiment with showing the emotions in another avenue. This tape is a way better listen in headphones. Uh, I personally would say don't listen to the tape in any other way. Like, and I'm not even talking about just not just Sega. I'm just saying period. When I
Yeah.
first listened to it, I was just like, all right, okay, okay. And then just listen to it more in headphones. I'm like, I think this is more preferred. Like this is like the preferred sound. It's supposed to be in headphones. Um, Overall, like I said, I didn't know what to expect from listening to this or whatever, but for it being a newer project, I'm like, all right, this is pretty chill, pretty chill. I don't have too many issues with it. It's just more of the direction Charles decided to go with. Like I said, with some of the audio, um, maybe like the way that like he did this for style. Like I said, 'cause I think it's more of a he talked about vibes. I'm like, I get it's supposed to be vibes, but those vibes don't match these other vibes. And for me, vibes have to like be kind of similar. You know what I mean? So, um, overall, there's some highs and lows for this tape or whatever. I wouldn't say it's more lows than highs, but it's a that's what's constant. It's high, low, high, low, high, low. Um, so overall, I'm gonna give it a knuckles. You know what I mean? Overall, it is a nice tape. But like I said, just the overall consistency isn't always there. You know what I mean? And then the fact where I feel I have to listen to this in headphones, that's gonna make me listen to it less. You know what I mean? Like I'm probably never going to listen to this again in the car any other way. Like I'm gonna have to like go out of my way, make sure I have my headphones to listen to it. You know what I mean? There's times I normally do that, but I'm like, I have to do that next time I listen to this. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna give it a knuckles.
Yeah. Like I said, this to me, this is very much of a cover type of situation where the listener is going to come in, and I can tell them right now, like the front and the back of the cover to me is the highlights, right? I think right there, it's like you're drawn in by that first song. You're gonna be really excited about what you're gonna hear later, and if you want to be fancy, you can do what some people do, and like I hate people who do this, by the way. They go to the last page and like, oh my god, let me read the last page to see how it ends. Like I think those people are psychopaths. They're also on the FBI most wanted list. Just so we're clear. But that last song is kind of like that too. Like you're gonna love to me, you're gonna love the first and last song. The question is what type of person are you when it comes to the middle? And the middle is just questionable for me. There's a lot of choices, like you said, there's a lot of choices that he made in this tape where it's like just from audio quality, just from how I'm deciding to rap. Am I gonna have a focused topic, or am I just gonna be like, let me just see where the vibes take me? Again, like the battle with the vocals sometimes. So there are a lot of things. Everything feels like like not concise, inconcise, or whatever. And so I like some stuff on here. I dislike, not just Sega, Interception, those songs, and then everything else is kind of like either okay or like on re-listens like I like it a little bit better today, and then sometimes like I can probably skip this or whatever. Um, it's not a Robotnik, and I've been trying to battle between Knuckles and Mecha Sonic. But the fact that I do like both of that front and that back cover like so well, that first and last song, I'm gonna lean and choose Knuckles. I will say this is a Knuckles project that I probably won't re-listen to in full again, but that's just a personal choice for me. I can see people like liking this. Like we've seen people where it's like, I thought this tape was like really, really good, and like it's one of my favorites. I'm like, that's cool. Like, you know what I'm saying? I always respect that, right? Um, but for me, it's something I'm not gonna listen to this in full again because I just think I have to do too many things. Like I said, we'd have to listen to headphones or whatever. And sometimes I just don't want to listen to stuff in headphones. I just want to cast it to a speaker, play the video game, write, do some writing and just play it. I don't want to have to, oh, let me pause it, headphones, switch it back. You know what I'm saying? That's too much energy for me. So in the immortal in the immortal Anthony Fantano way, it's a light knuckles, man.
Okay, I
So it's a
got you.
light knuckles.
That reminds me of you ever play Metal Gear Solid where you had to go against Psycho Mantis and then he messes with your controller, so you have to
Yep.
unplug the controller and then put it into the second port, whatever.
Yep.
For that fight, okay, but imagine you had to do that the whole game. You had to keep switching the ports and whatnot.
Right.
Like that. Oh, and also, you have to use the multi-tap. Don't have a multi-tap, go to the store and go buy one. You know what I mean? That's kind of how this tape kind of feels at some points where it's like, okay, now I gotta like stand upside down while listening to this. You know what I mean? Now I gotta change my shirt and wear a pink shirt. It's like, oh, like I would much more appreciate it if I could just like sit here and just listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah. But let us know what you guys think of Mr. Black Cat. What did you feel? How do you feel about the songs? What were your favorite songs? Do you feel like, what is your opinion on bring writtens, freestyles, and can you tell the distinct difference? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe to StarCHaser Central on YouTube, on Twitter, StarCH Central. You can also follow us on individual pages. I'm Stick Around 54, STIK Around 54 on Twitter and Instagram. Mike, where can they find you, buddy?
On Instagram, the Mike Jackson, Mike Jackson. On Twitter, fuck Elon. On Twitter, Mike D Jackson, Mike D Jackson. That's 1D, 2 E's. Holla at me. Make sure you guys are following Charles on Twitter at Charles Hamilton. Make sure you guys are subscribed to him on YouTube, the talented Mr. Hamilton. I know I said it before. Because Charles has an Instagram, it's the talented Mr. Hamilton. You can just look up Charles Hamilton, you'll find it. Because I think he has been experimenting with doing lives on Instagram as well. Because I know he just did one recently, whatever.
Yeah.
And from what I heard, I was at work, so I didn't get to see it. But from what I heard, it seemed like he's having a good time with it, whatever. So he might be doing the lives on there again. If he doesn't do them on YouTube, you know what I mean. So just make sure you guys are connected with him on those fronts.
Yep.
Also, if you haven't been paying attention. He blogs. He has a blog. He is a blogger. Make sure you guys are checking out the blog. Enter the hamilton.blogspot.com. I want to say, yeah, that's there we go. There it is.
Be sure to let us know what you'd like us to review next. We have a lot of backlog stuff we need to get into. We have some stuff that we still haven't attacked. We still have albums that in big projects that we haven't even touched yet. So those will be on the way probably in the next 50 episodes. Again, thank you guys for the 50 episode celebration. And yeah, be sure, I want to say at the beginning, but be sure to send any questions you have for me and Mike for our anniversary or podiversary special. We'll answer those on the pod. And yeah, that's all I got. Mike, you have anything for the people before we head out?
Like you said, thank you guys for the supporting us through the 50 episodes, 200 subscribers and counting. So we're going to just make sure we keep building on that. Like I said earlier, make sure you guys keep sending tapes for us to review, give us ideas, feel free. We're only improving as well. So even if it's constructive, but it has to be constructive, you know what I mean? Just like if you think we could do something better for the episodes, feel free to tell us whatever. Just don't be like, yo, the pod fucking sucks. You know what I mean? So
that's not gonna end well. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
That's not gonna end well.
Yeah, it's not. For y'all, not gonna end well.
Yeah, oh no, for us it'll be great. Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be great for us, but like it's not gonna end well for y'all. Don't do that, please.
No, but like usual, thank you guys, whatever, and I can't wait to see y'all for the next episode, for the next tape that we have to review or the next idea. So it's always exciting to do this every week. Seriously, it's an enjoyable experience. I never feel like, oh, man, I gotta record this one, I gotta review this one. It's fun. I enjoy this.
Yes, sir. We are now logging out of StarCHaser Central Podcast, man. We always encourage you to follow your dreams
and reach for the stars.
I don't need a reason to keep on believing. So with no reason, I'll keep on believing now. Now where to go in Arizona?